deck at all? Because what rogue deck is there out there that's like kind of standardish right now? Like, what do you think he's going to end up playing? What do you think
Uh,
he's going with?
I guess you are not really scared of a rogue deck because it's just the power level is so low, right? Like when I play priest in tournaments, I just play it. Like people don't really care about it. It's like, okay, go ahead. I mean, your best class is priest, but I'm not gonna play against your druid, even though say you play the priest better than the druid is not that good. The druid is just so threatening that you just play on curve, you just wild growth, innovate and whatnot, and you're just good to go, right? So I believe Life Coach is not going to ban the rogue unless something weird happens. For example, like a Druid Mirror in the first match, and then some more favorable matchups, and then at the end, Rogue versus something like I don't know. Is Rogue even good against any of Life Coach classes?
That's what I would be worried about if I'm in Life Coach's position
Right.
is he knows that Hosty's a formidable player.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that Hosty's going to come with a strong lineup. And then you see Rogue in this lineup. Like, has he figured out something that you don't know about yet? Because again, there's not like a standard Rogue deck out there that you expect to see. Like, if your opponent plays Mech Warper, it's kind of just as likely as if your opponent just daggered up, which is kind of just as likely as if your opponent's going to play Azure Drakes and value minions the full way through, like with Violet Teachers. So you don't really know what you're going to be going up against, and that really affects not only the way that you approach a matchup, but the way that you're going to mulligan in the early game. So if you pick the wrong mulligan sequence, it can just outright change the outcome from there. And I think that's something he wants to avoid is sort of these unknown scenarios where that he doesn't know what to do. And again, he's very good at navigating those, but the rogue range of decks right now feels like it's so wide that like how do you figure it out until it's kind of like it's too late?
Well, it's kind of wide, but at the same time, I guess the mysteriousness does give an extra edge. But other than that, it's still a rogue deck, right? You're still gonna expect some key cards. I mean, you're always gonna see Deadly Poison, Blade Flurries, and stuff like that. But then maybe you won't be expecting like a Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil, for example, or maybe you won't expect Auctioneer to make a sudden comeback. Yeah.
Or even if they just jam down a turn 3 Cold Light Oracle and you're like, oh, okay, he's just going to try to kill me as quickly as he can.
Well, yeah, that's right. There are some Cold Light Oracle decks. So yeah, I think Rogue is one of those sneaky decks, which is good, right? Rogues are supposed to be sneaky.
Right.
Yeah, but then oh yeah, another good thing is Life Coach does have the cam up and he's pretty happy. Look at him, he's smiling and all. So
Life Coach is always happy.
yeah. So he
The only
should
time
be soon.
the only time I've seen Life Coach not be happy was it was like way back when Unleash the Hounds was 2 mana and Buzzard was 2 mana.
Oh,
And he kept playing against people who would play turn 1 Stone Tusk Boar against him and then just attack him for 1. And what would end up happening is he would like lose just a little bit of tempo because of this Stone Tusk Boar, and they would have enough damage to kill him. And so he would constantly see his opponents just play turn 1 Stone Tusk Boar, attack him, and he'd be like, "This is tilting me. Like, what are they doing?"
yeah.
Because he didn't use it that way at all. I mean, I don't recall hardly any situations where he ever played turn 1 Stone Tusk Boar. He was always valuing it either drawing a card from Buzzard or coupling it with something like Hunter's Mark. And his opponents in those matchups were just having such a different approach that he was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, Life Coach definitely feels like more of a mid range or even control player than just like aggro, since he like takes so long. It'll be so weird watching him play aggro decks, right? He would like take 1 minute and then attack all face, and then take another minute. Yeah, okay, I'll hit the face.
Yeah, I'm gonna Wolf Rider here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, attack you for 3. Wolf Rider is not a Life Coach kind of card. I don't think he's ever gonna play with Wolf Rider.
No, well, not for a while at least. Maybe.
I don't think. I just don't think he's ever gonna do it. I think he's just like, you know what? I'm just not gonna play Wolf Rider. I just don't like it.
Never know. Maybe there's an Undertaker guard that every time you summon a Wolf Rider, gain +1/+1. Maybe in the next.
There's a Hobgoblin for 1 health minions instead of 1 power.
Oh god. Oh my god. Like, yeah, the possibilities are quite endless, which is pretty cool about Hearthstone. Where I actually didn't expect GVG to come out as soon as they did, and I was like, I was actually happy with the content. I'm even more happy if more cards come out, but I like the pacing so far.
I like your monk design.
Oh,
that you showed.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, maybe sometimes it's really hard to like make cards when you can't play it in kind of like the system.
Yeah, there's no way to practice them. You have to just think about how they fit into the game,
right,
and sort of what they do to certain things, and you have to make things that aren't too powerful, but at the same time you want to push the envelope. Like you want people to be playing the new cards that you make, but you don't want to just strictly obsolete other stuff that's out there.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, there are some cards that you need to test out before you actually know they're broken or not, right? Like who knew Adrenaline Rush would be like insane, right? If you just look at that card, if you just look at the basic Hearthstone set without testing or anything, you go like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. That's cool, right? You don't even know. So yeah, Adrenaline Rush ended up being just insane, which is like an Arcane Intellect for 1 mana. So that just got removed.
Yeah. Shiv for 1 mana. That's a perfect example of a card you need to play with. Before you're like, is 1 mana Shiv too good? I don't know. Let's find out. Then you're like, yeah, this is a little good.
Yeah, and then you go like, oh my god.
Yeah, that card was just insane. It was when Druid spells used to hit. Like you used to be able to starfall your opponent's face.
Yeah, starfall with your opponent's face. Like it's consecrate, right? It was basically consecrate. You can wrap your opponent's face. It was just like so much. Imagine if you can wrap your opponent's face now. Oh.
Druid was just straight up a burn deck.
Yeah. Well, Swipe used to be deal 3 damage to a minion and 1 to everything else. So Swipe used to be a little bit worse.
I think I would take that trade off though, if I was a Druid guy, which I am.
Okay. Yeah, or maybe you talk about Druid all the time. Okay.
Get him. There's nothing quite like Chill Wind Yeti.
And there's not really a lot of things to talk about Druid. Admirable. Okay, you know what? We will all start watching Admirable's stream when he includes 2 copies of Recycle in his deck. Okay.
Recycle. I'm not Freshka.
Oh.
All right. I can't just play crazy cards and make them work like he does.
Oh man, the Freshka's the Fishman Fatigue Mage, right? It's kind of the thing that he kind of
he plays all sorts of. He just builds decks and beats people with them. I don't get it. Like when I see his deck lists, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Somehow you have this figured out and you know what this is gonna do.
Yeah, pretty quick shenanigans, definitely. So yeah, Lifecoach is still switching servers, unfortunately. When I said there are no breaks between the tournament, I meant not a lot of commercial breaks. If there's a technical difficulty, then unfortunately we just have to sit tight.
But the game should be starting soon.
Yep. The admin says okay, starting game now with capital letters.
That means he's yelling at us.
No, that means he's really excited.
Is that
No. I mean, if it's yelling at us and capital letters, then admirable. All your words when they do a transcript, it's all gonna be capitals. It doesn't really do much there. So.
Like the court reporter in the in the courtroom where they have to take down all the words that are said.
Oh yeah.
There's all minor and all caps.
Yeah, caps lock on, right? Do they even write them down, or do they use like a typewriter?
They have like a special machine so that they can type like exceptionally fast. So there's like combinations of buttons you press to like make combinations of letters. So like really common things like the and of and like just like common legal terms that are used.
Just a button.
They press combinations of buttons to like make these words. So like they can individually make a word like if they need to, but they're so good at using these machines that they literally can just type at the rate that you're speaking and have it be like perfect the entire way through.
I just laugh because the way you're describing is like you can type the with a combination of buttons. Like if you press T and then H and then E.
No. It's not like it's like they just press them all at the same time so that they can fluidly go through what's going on. But that's I don't know legal terms, of course, but like all the like major legal terms that constantly get used, they just do. It's like one keystroke. They just press like these combinations of keys at the same time, and that word goes into like the recording thing.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think we fixed most of the other things though. The volume should be okay. Of course, chat, let us know if we are all right with in terms of volume and the game sounds. And we're just waiting on Lifecoach to accept the game invite now.
He's gonna let the rope burn for that one.
We're getting, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. And of course, thank you so much, guys, for watching. We are gonna finish all of day 1 today, which means that we are gonna produce 2 winners and 2 losers. Nobody's a loser, but 2 winners who advance to the grand finals, which is gonna be on Saturday. Don't make that face at me. And we want to give a special thanks to G2A.com and also Twitch for sponsoring the prize pool and all the costs associated with the tournament. Without them, I mean, this tournament wouldn't really happen. And of course, Twitch is just like a great place to host tournaments.
And of course, the fans. Because without fans, there'd be no reason to even have the events.
That's right. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's still a lot of Forsen boys right now in chat waiting for Forsen's match and, cheering him on as he, hopefully gets
Valiantly fights through the losers bracket, but there are no losers. So it's the those who were defeated bracket.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just a moment of silence for Fortune. Like, what is happening right now? Oh man. But yeah, I guess Lifecoach is still getting used to the iPad setup. He is playing on an iPad right now. So but we won't be able to see that because we do have the super spectator client with like admins, hovering through secrets and whatnot. That's just insane. Like the spectator mode, good job. Good job, Blizzard. Now we just need tournament server, don't you think?
Yeah, tournament. I've been preaching this for a long. The one thing that I didn't like about Stage 2 at BlizzCon was that you had all crafted cards available in Golden, but then you didn't have any basic cards available in Golden.
Oh, so Golden is a big problem, right?
And I was like, I have Golden everything except for Swipe. Like I just don't have Golden Swipe.
Yeah, that's the main thing when you go into tournament. Go like, oh, I can't use a Golden Swipe. My mojo is gone now.
It was gone. I mean, I got crushed at that event. I couldn't focus. I was so distracted by my non-golden basics. I couldn't put together a thought.
Yeah.
It was tough.
I mean, yeah, I'll get there. I mean,
you guys really don't know what it's like until you just can't play with golden cards. It's rough.
Once you go gold, you don't go back, huh? All right. Well, okay. So there you go. Once again, on the matchup screen, at least we have something to talk about. Both picking Druid, both picking Mage. Mage could be a variety number of things. Hunter and Rogue for Hosty, and the game is actually started. Lifecoach, of course, using the Warlock and the one that actually missed. Do you guys see it?
Yeah, I mean, this looks to me like it's gonna be a handlock straight away too. I mean, this is just again, he's not really much for a pure aggro player. It's just not his style. He wants to have a lot of decisions to make. He wants his turns to be tough because he feels confident navigating through them. So
like right now, what is Hosty thinking? Is he thinking, do I want to coup this because it's a zoo possibility? But I mean, it's a Lifecoach.
Well, honestly, this is something that's really unique to coup as well, is that you get to see your first cycle of the mulligan cards.
That's true.
You don't get to see the second ones though. So when he sees Keeper of the Grove in his opening hand, I think he feels really comfortable, even if his opponent is playing zoo in a position like this. Keeper of the Grove is like one of those cards that is so good against both the Warlock matchups that he's very happy to see it in his opening hand. So to go along with that, he's I feel like he's hedging his bets a little bit when he keeps the Ascension Shieldmaster too. But at the same time, he wants to have a play on turn 4 if he's not able to utilize his Keeper of the Grove.
All right. So, yeah, we are actually going to see this matchup play out, which is basically, I think it's pretty even, a Druid versus a Handlock. It really depends on, if the Druid can put on early pressure and if the Handlock just keeps on playing behind, making inefficient trades because they're scared of the combo, for example. But so far, doesn't look like Hosty has those cards.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like it's going to be like a ramp variant, too. He's got Tezdingo and he's got Sludge Belcher in his opening hand already. So I would expect to see Ancient of War, and I would expect to see something like Kel'Thuzad at some point, very akin to the ones that we saw from Forsen.
Yeah, there was the Undertaker Druid deck that was floating around with Belchers back then, but of course Undertakers did get nerfed now, and players do know that the Undertaker patch would come anytime during the tournament. So we did warn them, if they play an Undertaker, then you best be prepared. Because if it gets nerfed during it, we're not responsible, okay?
Now, see, would you have been the kind of guy who's like, you know what? I'm going to try to win my first match with Undertaker.
And then just go like, okay, I'm in the finals. I'm in the money. It's okay. Undertaker now. I don't think so. I think every tournament, you should just go for the win, right? I mean, why else would you play a tournament just for, just for the in the money thing, right? It's kind of like poker too, right? When you go in the money, you just go a little bit more aggressive and shoot for number 1.
Yeah. Everyone wants to win. Nobody wants second place. Second place feels awful.
Yeah, I mean, I think even third place feels better because you end with a win. If there's ever like tournaments with third place matches, I just feel better.
Yeah, it's so much better than just, you're like second place, you're like, oh, I was so close.
All right, Lifecoach, of course, thinking of whether to tap or not. It does decide to go with the tap. Ancient of War is going to be drawn, just like you predicted, Admirable. And here, I mean, a couple of plays you can. It's not insanely good, I guess, because if you coin something, then you're forced into doing the Keeper of the Grove next time. Like, it's just awkward with how this is made up right now.
Yeah, but sort of in line with this play though, is that he's not going to be focusing too much on like how to curve perfectly throughout the game because his game plan is going to be to kill his opponent's minions and take advantage of the fact that he's got plenty of efficient minions himself.
Right.
One of the ways he does that, of course, is Keeper of the Grove on something like Twilight Drake. So when he chooses to innervate out this Sludge Belcher here, what actually ends up happening is now he can't Keeper the Grove and innervate and hero power this. So I actually would have liked to see the Tez Dingo here instead.
All right, so instead, Hosty is going to find another way to deal with this Twilight Drake. I'm pretty sure Silence is going to come down, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see an attack come. Ooh.
Yeah, I think at this point it's pretty reasonable to kind of ignore the fact that this Twilight Drake was played in this vein and just go with Tez Dingo and,
really?
and try to come up with some sort of pressure. The other thing that he might have been thinking about, and this is something that I've done very often, is Sylvanas is going to get played in a lot of these hand lock
That's
decks.
true.
That's one of the nightmare cards for this matchup. So dealing with the first Twilight Drake without using a Keeper of the Grove is something that you're going to do a lot. He's going to go with it anyway.
Yep. But
I can't blame him for it. I mean,
makes sense too, because like you see a lot of rogues, even if when they have holding Big Game Hunter, they tend to use Deadly Poison, Eviscerates, or whatnot to clear the first giant and have that BGH ready for the second one, right? So I agree with kind of your logic there.
Tempo considerations are another thing to go with it. And Mountain Giant, I mean, that's got to be one of the best pickups in this deck at this point.
Oh man. But I mean, you just saw Keeper of the Grove. Don't you just want to play the other Twilight Drake instead?
I think there definitely is a lot of merit behind that.
And like,
gosh, I mean, it's really. I mean, something else is going to be thinking about too is how much does he get punished when he gets Big Game Hunted in a position like this? So he has to. He's got to weigh his options here, and he's not thinking about this turn alone and what happens next turn. He's thinking about how does this affect my turn 5, how does this affect my turn 6, and so on and so forth.
So what would you do here? I mean, if you can kind of trick yourself to not seeing Hosty's hand.
I mean, I probably am just going with the Mountain Giant here because I feel like if you get Big Game in here, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Okay.
But you know, at the same time, if you play Twilight Drake next turn, you can tap and play Mountain Giant for 3. But then what do you do with the extra mana? You only have 1 extra mana after that.
Yeah.
So I think what he's thinking about exactly is when you mentioned he just saw a Keeper of the Grove.
Right.
He's not going to be as worried about the second Keeper of the Grove here.
Well, Hosty, this is also another juicy Keeper of the Grove play. Deal 8 damage as a battle cry. You could also choose to coin a hero power, but I believe it's not going to be that. He's just going to trade the Ooze because he does have the 7 drops, which you really, really want to coin out and have 2 turn 7s instead.
Yeah, but I think Hosty's still thinking about the same thing he was earlier, which is if he Keepers of the Grove this, he doesn't have one for potentially something like Sylvanas.
Right. Does it come back in the end that Firebat was really smart and played Panda, UFO Brewmaster in Druid decks?
He won a game strictly because of it.
Yeah, bounced back the BGH in the BlizzCon, right? It was pretty insane. Oh no, that was in the DreamHack. Yeah, when they played against oh man, I Green Sheep. Yeah, I remember his face, but sometimes I don't remember the person's name.
I'm good with faces too. Names are tricky sometimes.
Yeah. But Green Sheep was the guy who played, and
I remember everything about you except your name.
That's so romantic. Anyways, Lifecoach here. 6 mana. That hand looks pretty. You can't even just play, for example, the Sun Fury and the Mountain Giant without taunting it out, because that's not how Mountain Giant works. So like, I guess.
That's something really important to talk about. Is that does he even want to taunt up his minions in this matchup?
Yeah, I guess you don't, right?
Well, Black Knight is something that you have to consider on your mind. You're thinking about Big Game Hunter, you're thinking about Keeper of the Grove. You have to think about Black Knight, especially now with so many people playing Ancient of War.
Right.
That it's just a large portion of these decks. But I think at this point, he just doesn't really have much of an option. I think he's just got to go with Mountain Giant and then
pass.
Yeah, so he life taps afterwards, and it doesn't really matter when he life taps his turn because he's not going to be able to utilize his 1 mana.
Exactly.
Oh, it actually does matter because no, he's only got 9 cards in hand. Oh my gosh.
Savage Roar on a Ramturret. Oh man. You know what? If I am hosting right now, I'll definitely think about just coining the Ancient of War just to trick my opponent into thinking that I'm a Ramturret and not play around the combo, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's got to think about something like Silences or Siphon Souls in the other end too. So
that's true.
A lot of options open to him. And if he has something like Savage Roar in his deck, there is merit to just playing Ancient of Lore and just trying to use your Force of Nature at this point. The other thing too is, you know, I would imagine he's got a copy of Big Game Hunter somewhere in here and just drawing something like Swipe and drawing cards like Wrath. He just wants to have options available to him. And then continue to pressure a little bit because this is a board where I feel like Siphon Soul is not going to get played too terribly often.
Well,
and against everything else, you pretty much have good responses to everything else that's going to be happening.
Anti-Killbot will help Lifecoach stabilize if he, cleans up the board a little bit and plays some taunts, for example. Those are a bit more a priority minions. But, I mean, this hand looks pretty bad. There's no big threats like Dr. Broom or Sylvanas. It's just not the best hand. I guess you just play Sludge Belcher and that's pretty much about it.
Well, I mean, Siphon Soul is the worst thing here, but once he sees Sludge Belcher, he's got to believe there's something like Ancient of War in this deck.
That's true. And Hosty might be able to trick Lifecoach into believing this is a pure ramp deck. I mean, Hosty's sitting a lot of damage right now, right? With the swipe and the Savage Roar and the Drill to Claw. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's gonna go with Anti-Killbot. So I imagine this Mountain Giant's crashing into the 5/5 here.
Crash. Taunts both creatures up.
He's a lot less reluctant to taunt at this. Whoa!
Is that a Lifecoach move?
Wow, that is something that I have very, very rarely seen from Lifecoach. So not pick up some value here.
Putting on the pressure and see. I'm pretty sure that Lifecoach will get rewarded by that play.
There's no Big Game Hunter. There's no Black Knight.
None of those.
There's only a small amplifying effect right now.
Very.
This Savage Roar might just have to be used to clean up this board.
Oh god. Yeah, I mean, how can you kill this Mountain Giant effectively? I guess you don't.
Well, he can use Savage Roar, and then he can Wrath the Mountain Giant, and he can use Hero Power to clear out the Anti-Killbot, and then run one of his Keepers of the Grove into the Sun Fury Protector. So he can clean up this board really nicely, but then, he's losing his 5/5 in the process. He's not developing his board anymore, and he's losing his Savage Roar.
Maybe I like the swipe and Wrath play more than just kill one of your 2/4s. I do believe the 5/5 is pretty good on the board. I don't really want to see it just die like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of options available to him about how he wants to clear. The problem is that none of them are too terribly efficient.
Yeah. Well, Wrathing the... Would you Wrath for a card draw? It's just...
Yeah, I think you Wrath for... I think it's what he's looking at. The swipe play is what it looks like. He wants to keep that 5/5 around.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure that Lifecoach put at. Add 8 damage to your opponent. Like, that was pretty good.
Wow, he's actually going to use... he's going to save Wrath. Wow.
Whoa.
That's a bit surprising to me.
That's surprising to me, too.
I mean, he's already got so many options available to him. Like, how much value is the Wrath really going to be picking up? I mean, I guess he can couple it with something else to deal with the Giant later. Like, say, when he gets the Ancient of War down, the Wrath is going to clear up a second Giant if it comes to that point.
But still, I just hate losing the 5/5 like that. Just crashing like that.
Yep.
Really
wow, there's 2 Big Game Hunters in Lifecoach's deck still too.
And this is one of the problems with a double Big Game Hunter deck is that you just draw them and you don't have anything to play.
Yeah, and against this Druid deck, unless he chooses to uproot this Ancient of War for some reason.
Oh god. Well, like this Druid deck, if it was like the KT and Sneeds deck, there would be no BGH targets. Oh, I guess you can kill the Sneeds and then BGH the legendary that comes out. But what if it's another Sneeds? Then what do?
What if it's a Ysera that comes out?
Oh. God.
What if it's a Lore Walker Cho?
Yeah, you can't BGH a Lore Walker Cho. That's not possible.
You could Little Game Hunter it though.
What's a Little Game Hunter? Kodo.
It goes after little game instead of big game.
The Kodor
destroys a minion with 0 power.
Oh god. All right, so Hosty here. He has 8 mana to work with.
Yeah, this is sort of a tough turn. He doesn't. Again, he's in a position where he doesn't have an efficient way to respond to what's going on. So he's just going to be forced to create board tension. So the one thing he wants to avoid is having Siphon Soul just be a really big turnaround.
So you're gonna.
I think he's
the Ancient of War, I guess, with that kind of thinking in mind.
Yeah, I think the Shade is like totally fine play here though. But at the same effect, he has to take into account something like Hellfire. Does he want to use this 2/2 Keeper of the Grove when he plays the Shade so that way he doesn't just lose his 2/2?
Well, look, I'm actually very comfortable right now if I'm Hosty because your opponent didn't do insane plays for the last 3 turns, right? There were not really a lot of big threats. So I feel like soaring the board with little dudes like this, it's perfectly fine. I'll go to the Senjin instead.
Yeah. And this is a play that like Lifecoach doesn't really have a ton of responses to. I mean, he's not going to Siphon Soul this.
No. Oh no, that's another card that you can't really play right now.
That's not even close to activate. He actually can't even life tap with his hand right now too. He's got 10 cards in hand. So he's got to find a way to start expending what he's got.
Yeah, he has to be forced to play all these guys. I guess playing a BGH here is not really the worst thing that can happen, right? I mean, if you're playing 2, just kind of treating one as like a Harvest Golem was perfectly fine.
Well, not only that, but just, against a Ramp Druid deck, a lot of times you can anticipate, like you said, just not any 7 power minions being in the deck.
All right. Oh, and tapping again and hope for another. Oh my god, it's one of those other utility cards.
Yeah, he's going to have to play Defender of Argus here, I think.
Don't want to lose a card.
Just try to get something out of this. So I'd be extremely surprised if the Ooze attacked this turn.
Of course. That would be quite surprising. A BGH for Hosty is just a little bit better than Lifecoach's BGH here.
Yeah, it's a tad better versus the Giants deck than versus the non-Giants decks.
Yeah. But no Wrath anymore, so this BGH is going to get some value, I would assume.
Do you like attacking the 2/2 here still instead, though?
Ooh. I'm not really sure. I guess the first question I have to ask myself is what minions am I playing this turn? And I mean, I guess I'm going to go with the... I actually have no idea. It's really hard.
It's tough.
The situation is like... Especially when both players are holding so many cards and they both have high health totals. Like, how can you anticipate anything? Like, well, your opponent has everything, and I have everything too.
If my opponent hadn't been doing very much stuff like this, I would expect something like Hellfire in his hand. I would expect him to have some more top minions in his hand. I would expect him to have Siphon Soul in his hand, and it's because he hasn't really done any powerful plays, and you haven't given him a reason to use any of these other cards.
Okay, so I guess I would try and force my opponent to use these AoEs as inefficiently as possible. So I would play. Yeah, I'll actually do exactly that play. Force them to use the Hellfire on a board that's not really good to Hellfire.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's actually such an important draw right now, just because he needs something to get going on this board.
That's right. Well, here you can just remove the board of Hellfire and just play a Loatheb, set up for a pretty good Molten Giant next turn as well. That seems pretty sweet, especially if you're playing against a Ramp Druid, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he's just happy to breathe a sigh of relief that he didn't run into Black Knight on the turn that he threw a Mountain Giant into his opponent's face.
Yeah, or BGH at that matter, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? That was like a lot of turns ago. Yeah, the Hellfire, double Hellfire is actually pretty interesting because you could enable some big turns, right? Double Hellfire into double Molten into Taunt, something your opponent would not expect.
I actually wonder if he's thinking about defending Varusing the Loatheb here and just running his 3/4 Argus into a 3/3.
Yeah, you could, but I do like the Hellfire play a little bit more.
Yeah, I like setting up the Moltens.
Yeah. Oh, place the Molten before the
yeah.
Okay. That's going to get a little bit punished, though. And, a Loatheb for Hosty as well. Now, this is a pretty good turn. I mean, I guess you start by cycling. And if you do see the combo, well, just play the Loatheb. And your board is going to be there. You can just combo your way through.
Yeah. Cycling here, I think, is better than the Ancient of War, simply because you're just not going to have very many turns in the future to, expend this 2 mana right now.
There it is!
Wow, and he picks up the full combo. And Loatheb is going to put so much pressure on this board.
Oh
my gosh. I mean, that's the miracle draw.
That is the best draw. I mean, this deck, I'm pretty sure only wants one set of combo. It'd be super surprising to see 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, we already have room for 2. He's got Sludge Belcher and Ancient of War and a BGH. And a Loatheb.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a super simple play. BGH and Loatheb, and you win next turn. I mean, it's really hard to deal with a board like that, especially if you're handlocked. You do need to couple spells and taunts. You need both. If you
wow.
If one thing is kind of stopped, it's really hard to.
How much different would this game have been if Lifecoach had chosen to play Loatheb instead of the Molten Giant?
So different because you can't cycle the Wild Growth, right? You have to go with something like Ancient of War, I guess, to challenge the Loatheb. Siphon Soul would have come down, and wow, it's been so different. That's
You know, Dr. Boom's actually a pretty important draw here because he can taunt up the Boom and one of the Boom bots.
right. But does that
then-
actually help?
One of the Boom bots can kill one of your 4/2s.
That's true.
So it might take away that potential for, like, if he's got Force Nature Savage, which I don't even think he's thinking about right now, honestly.
No, I don't think it's in his mind. Like, how can it be in your mind when your opponent played such big creatures, you know?
Does he even have a better play than doing that, though? Like, he's
Uh,
seen BGH. He is just pretty certain that Black Knight isn't there because he gave his opponent such a big Black Knight opportunity.
well, Lothab is the play, of course, to block the combo. Okay, there it is.
Wow. I think this game is about to fall, I think, in major favor of Hosty here.
Yeah. The Argus is going to come down on the Lothab as well, which is good because it does cost 4 mana. It's just a more expensive Sun Fury. Do like that. Now, Hosty can't kill Lifecoach this turn. Has to go something else.
God, this next draw is so important. Oh my gosh. What a huge draw for Hosty right now. He's going to be able to kill his opponent's Lothab, re-summon the minions he used for it, and end with a 6/8 on the board. Oh my gosh.
What? That is the best draw. Admirable, yeah. When you said what draw could have actually won that.
Wow. Minions, servants, soldiers of the cold dark. Oh my gosh. What a pickup. Just back-to-back massive draws for Hosty, and Lifecoach on such a back foot right now. I don't see how he's climbing out of this game, honestly.
Well, you can tap for a Molten Giant and Shadow Flame, but the combo kills you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no. Wow. That is a turnaround.
That's a golden Kel'Thuzad too, by the way.
What is it?
You get a Kel'Thuzad for free when you go through the Naxxramas thing, and he's like, you know what? 3,200 dust sounds good.
Well, I mean, you did pay gold / real money to get to Naxxramas, so there better be a sweet word in the end. But man, like, I guess Lifecoach is pretty dead here.
I don't see a way out of this.
No?
Kel'Thuzad being a 6/8 is just
6/8, yeah. That stat distribution is like perfect as well.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, he's gonna Hellfire, but it just, the bad news is coming up right. Hosty gonna jump out to a 1-0 lead. Wow, what a couple of draws this was. I at some point in this matchup, I would have given an advantage to Hosty just how the early game panned out.
Right.
But the pickups are just a nail in the coffin. Like, how on earth do you beat that?
One after another, and Hosty is going to get the first game of this series.
I think it's a big sigh of relief too that he took down Lifecoach's Handlock again, because that's just a deck he's been practicing so much with.
Right.
That it's when you're like, all right, I got it out of the way. Good.
Yeah, definitely true. If we go back at the deck selection, we noticed that both players do still have the coups left. So maybe Hosty will use one because I'm pretty